Welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and sitting next to me is none other than the General, Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on, Brother Love. You know how we get this thing started every week, man. How's your weekend this past week?
Man, weekend was excellent, man. Just great. Living life, enjoying, paying attention to things. Hey, man, Greg, I got to tell you. Oh, by the way, my father-in-law said y'all had a men's day.
Oh, yeah. I saw my friend yesterday.
Hey, he came over there and got down, Greg?
Yes, he did. But listen, that's I always expect that.
You don't expect anything less.
Nothing less.
But in addition to that, the South Apopka Ministerial Alliance, basically do like they always do, man. They give young people scholarships. And, Greg, I got to just share this moment of privilege.
Okay.
When my daughters were very young, they used to be upset that their daddy used to drag them around to public forums that I had to attend, that I had to speak at. And, Greg, I remember those two little girls when their daddy would say hello to somebody. And I used to say, hey, enunciate, look people in the eye, give a firm handshake.
Right.
Greg, my oldest MC the scholarship award, and man, everybody was calling me, telling me, man, that girl didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And my baby girl was there. She just, what they call it, Greg? She's training and waiting. So, man, I'm just proud of what I see, man, and just looking forward to some brighter days.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, congratulations.
What about your weekend, man?
So, like you said, this past weekend at St. Paul AME was the Men's Day celebration, and Pastor Richard King came and did the 8 a.m. service. That's the service I go to, is the 8 a.m. service, and lit it up as usual. But also, Brother Love, on Saturday, Bishop Stubbs over in the Paramore area had the Standing Tall event.
Okay.
And I went over there and I supported that event, had a chance to speak to some of the men that were in attendance, and it was a great conversation. And
give me the objective. Standing tall. I know what it implies.
I mean, listen, just standing up to the adversities and different things like that. But that's kind of our articulate, because we're going to talk a little bit more about what precipitated Standing Tall and the issues that that young black men are facing in the community and facing in society today, that I think is important. So that was one of the things that I was very happy to participate in. And then yesterday, Brother Love, yesterday I had to drive over to Kissimmee. There's a magazine, Publica, that recently relocated to Atlanta, and they actually asked me to serve as the chief photographer for a shoot that they had over in Kissimmee.
Well deserved.
So,
well deserved.
I had a good time, man.
Greg, a shoot for a magazine based out of Atlanta.
Yeah.
So power attorney, famed photographer now, because I know some folk that you photographed about a year or so ago, and you made them look like the first family.
I know you're talking about too.
But Greg, so man, come on, this shoot, man. I mean, I'm gonna do one of them deals where the psychologist or the therapist, man, how did you feel doing this, man? I mean, I know this was like you know what you're doing, but how did you feel doing this, man?
I mean, it was good, man. It was cool. It's something that I enjoy doing, and it's kind of funny because one of the models that was there, I was just kind of like sitting there just assessing things and just taking everything in and getting ready for the shoot, not really talking, just kind of listening and watching. And so the makeup artist, she was talking to the makeup artist. And so I kind of heard her say, well, who is that over there? And she was like, oh, that's G. Allen. She's like, I know him. So listen, I'm getting a little following, man. I'm getting a little.
But Greg, with that, and man, we can't, I can't let a great opportunity go by. If folk are interested in your skills as an attorney, or if they are interested in, because you do family photos, you do individual. I've seen some of the other.
What we ain't gonna do, we ain't gonna mix them too.
We ain't gonna mix them too.
Listen.
So which one do we want to? Hey, your contact information, because folks need to know how to get a hold of it.
Well, listen, man. The thing that I mean, my passion. What I've been doing and eating and living and breathing for over 2 decades now is practicing law.
That attorney.
And that's the thing that I really enjoy doing. That's where I have the most impact on the community and being able to be out into the community. Because when I go to the community, people don't ask about, G. Allen, they don't ask about Greg Jackson. They ask about Attorney Greg Jackson. They ask about the general. They ask about the other half of the dynamic duo. That's what they're asking about. And so, listen, that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy the opportunity of proving people wrong.
Yeah, and you've been great at doing that. Matter of fact, I know our executive producer has that phone number that he's going to scroll across the screen. But Greg, give it to him just in case he doesn't have it.
Now, listen. So, if anyone ever has a need for an attorney, or if you just want to ask questions, a lot of times folks just call and ask me questions. You can always reach me at 407-564-6604. Again, that's 407-564-6604. Attorney Greg Jackson, more than happy to assist you and see what I can do to help you through some of the more trying times in your life. When people are involved in accidents, no matter if it's a car accident, slip and fall, trip and fall, whatever the case may be, people don't know what to do, where to turn, and so they give me a call, and I'm happy to say that Brother Love has actually sent some people my way,
Hey.
and I believe I'm taking good care of them. So yeah.
Hey, so that's 407-564-6604. Hey, and I got to give it up to Attorney Greg Jackson. You're calling the right man when you call Greg Jackson.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Hey, Greg, I got to dive in before we get into, a number of things that we want to talk about. Greg, I saw something that popped up on national news yesterday.
Okay.
And man, it was sad. And the thing that hit me was, man, what do we do? Where do we go from here? The city of Chicago.
As we turn to and we look at what's taking place in the city of Chicago, Brother Love, and I know very well what you're talking about. People are just waiting to hear and understand that they're now tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on Monday night. Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo, guaranteed to raise your IQ 10 to 15 points. No, some nights, Brother Love, 25 to 30. If you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, all you got to do is hit 321-483-7002. Again, that's 321-483-7002 to talk to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on Monday night. Brother Love, Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo. Brother Love, let's get it on.
Boy, I love that introduction, man. Hey, but Greg, the next part of this, and you're going to be a fight announcer yet, believe me. When I speak it into existence, it'll happen. But Greg, the city of Chicago has set aside $10 million. Can you guess for what?
I can, but I don't want to spill the beans, Brother Love. I can guess, but I'm not going to spill the beans on this one.
To pay the families of victims that have been murdered by gun violence, $1,500 to help offset funeral costs. Greg, I mean, did that sink in? Setting aside $10 million. I mean, the thing that would hit me, and I mean, in this article and in all the coverage, people are asking the question, if the mayor of the city of Chicago has surrendered enough to say we're going to set aside $10 million, they're anticipating what's taking place. Yeah. And so now people are asking, if you're surrendering, why not call the federal government in to do something if you're not?
Brother Love, the interesting thing about this is that, we've talked about Chicago and what's taking place in Chicago for a number of years. This is not a new issue or a new topic. As a matter of fact, when we were doing radio, one of the producers over there, Brother Chris Shaw, was from Chicago, and we would oftentimes have conversations about what was taking place in Chicago. And one of the unfortunate conversations that we oftentimes would find ourselves circling back to was the fact that on any given weekend, there were dozens of shootings in the city of Chicago and a number of murders in the city of Chicago that people just seem to want to ignore. But they can't ignore it much longer, Brother Love, because as you said, the city is setting aside $10 million so that they can provide monies to individuals whose families are victims to gun violence. Brother Love, this is a sad state of affairs in Chicago.
Greg, if you're a resident, if you're a taxpayer in the city of Chicago, would this frighten you? I mean, I know it's going to make you concerned, but should this frighten you?
It should, Brother Love, but I'm going to tell you who it should frighten are the individuals who are most affected by by this violence, because this is not happening in every area of Chicago. It is a very specific area where this violence is taking place. Unfortunately, it mirrors what's taking place in a lot of communities across these United States. It's one of the reasons why even one of our topics tonight, one of the topics we addressed at Standing Tall was the condition that black males find themselves in. And Brother Love, I turn back to, again, that garbage news station when we were talking about the fact that African American males or individuals who live in underserved communities, not just African American males, but we're focusing on them, but individuals who live in underserved communities suffer from PTSD because of the trauma that takes place in those communities, and they had some 2-year psychology student, has a master's level, whatever it is, who said that PTSD did not exist in these underserved communities. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
But Greg, even a layperson, let's just talk common sense and let's just talk logic.
Yeah.
For individuals that live in communities that see a high propensity of violence taking place, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's gun violence, great, no matter what,
Yeah.
a layperson would be inclined to say, man, people who live there that see that got to be affected by it.
No,
If you don't know
absolutely.
anything about therapy or anything to that extent, or even know what trauma is, you'd be inclined to say, yeah, people are affected by it. But this 2-year person at the time, Greg, and they broadcast that.
Yeah, as if what they were saying was accurate. And immediately, once they did that, we actually were engaged by, urban psychologists, for lack of a better term, individuals who work within underserved communities on a regular basis, and they confirmed that individuals in underserved communities not only had PTSD, but they had PTSD to the levels that they saw in the U.S. military.
You're right.
I mean, there are, and in Chicago in particular, there could be days where there's gunfights or gun violence and dead bodies in this city. And how does that not affect anybody?
Well, Greg, that's why Let's Talk Nation is about what it's about.
Absolutely.
And that's communicating, getting information out, being transparent and disclosing this kind of information. But, Greg, I had to bring up what's taking place because that actually, man, to me is like waving the white flag. Doc Polite, what you
Hey,
got,
what's
brother?
going on?
Good.
I'm still coming down from the sit down, so forgive me. But hey, I wanted to do this real quick if you guys will humor me, because I'm like, Greg, that garbage news station needs to stop it. I want to tell you what the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for PTSD is. Okay. Now, the criteria applies to adults, adolescents, and children older than 6 years old can be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, here are some of the criteria. Initial experience, a direct traumatic event, witnessing in person the event or as it occurs to other, learning the traumatic events occurs to close family member or friend. In cases of actual or threatened death of a family member or friend, the event must have been violent or accidental. Experience repeated or extreme exposure to adverse details of traumatic events. First responders collecting humans, police officer repeated exposure to child abuse. And it does not include exposure through electronic media, television, movies, and pictures and things like that, okay? The presence of one of the following intrusion symptoms associated with the traumatic event, beginning from the traumatic event occurrence. Recurrent involuntary and intrusive distressing memories of the event. Recurring distressing dreams in which the content or effect of the dream was related to the traumatic event. Dissociative reactions, flashbacks, auditory hallucinations, things like that. Intense or prolonged psychological distress as exposure to internal or external clues from symbolize or resemble.
Is Doc taking us to school?
That symbolize
sound
or
like it
resemble
is.
Doc taking us to school. So,
stop being impatient, Ryan. this is public education 101. Because, see, it seems black people aren't allowed in this town. I'm saying this. They not saying it, y'all. America, Orlando, you got a problem with what's being said? Come see me. Our trauma and our distress is minimized. And that's what that garbage station was doing. They were minimizing what occurs in our community as it relates to our life experiences and what we go through. So I just wanted to share that.
No, listen, that's great information because, you know, we can just talk about it, we can just say it, but when there is empirical data and definitions that people can point to and
It's
say,
so
hey,
much
listen, this is what we are experiencing and seeing, that brings it full circle.
It's so much data out there. You know, again, they want to make it seem as if it's something related to war, and it's not. It's not specific to war. Because first responders get it, rape victims get it, robbery victims get it. Okay,
Well,
I'm done
hey,
now, Brother Love.
You know, Doc, we appreciate that. But Greg, what Doc just disclosed, man, I mean, that's additional information, man, regarding the sensitivities of post-traumatic stress disorder, man. Hey, Doc, what we're going to do, man, is take a quick break. We have a special guest that's in the studio with us. And, man, we're proud to have this person with us this evening. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Let's Talk Nation.
Joe's European Quality Auto Repair.
Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Jaguars, and Porsche. Joe's Quality Auto Repair specializes in European cars. Joe's Quality Auto Repair is located at 1240 State Road, 436 in Altamont Springs. Stop paying a king's ransom for your foreign auto repairs. Call Joe's Quality Auto Repair, mention Let's Talk Nation, and he'll beat certified dealership repair quotes by 30%. Call Joe's Quality Auto Repair at 407-409-6040. Again, 407-409-6040 for the best affordable and guaranteed European auto repairs.
Spain is their guest speaker.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk Nation. And we told y'all we had a special guest in the studio with us. And Greg, I don't do introductions like you do, brother. You bring the fire. So come on.
Now listen, so Let's Talk Nation, you are in for a treat. We have a very special guest who is sitting between my good friend, Brother Rod Love, and myself. This young man has been so impactful in so many communities, and we are so proud to have him currently as the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, but he has served as the president of the Urban League. He has served on school boards. He has served with various chambers of commerce. And so it brings us great joy to have sitting between us and to bring to Let's Talk Nation none other than our friend, our brother, our pal, Mr. Brother Glenn Gelzine.
Gelzine, all right.
What's going
Hey,
on, man?
thank you for coming to Let's Talk Nation, man.
Absolutely. So, Attorney Greg Jackson, all you just did is really solidify that, and both of y'all know that my parents are from Jamaica, so I'm a good Jamaican at multiple jobs, right? That's all you did. You just solidified. But man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
And you have a busy schedule, so no, we thank you. And you know, Glenn, just break out of the gates, man, the things that you are doing, man, in terms of the direct engagement, but man, when you talk about transparency, man, as soon as you got over in the Supervisor of Elections office, you cut the chatter down.
Yeah.
Folk can actually go to their cell phone or iPad or any device. And why don't you explain it? I ain't gonna do it no justice because you can watch the ballots being open.
That's right.
Yeah, so one of the things that we hear all the time in the media, in the community, the chatter, and it's like there needs to be more transparency. Within 9 days since appointed, I was able to work with the team. I always give Bill Cowles a shout out. He was doing the job for a long period of time, so I think it's super important to continue to shout him out. But he left in a capable team, 425 years worth of experience.
Oh, wow.
And I asked him, I challenged him. I said, hey, how can we create an enhanced level of transparency? And one of the things I realized, if you wanted to be a part of the process, you had to physically come to the office.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I said, with today's technology, why couldn't we do that via live stream, via our cell phones? And then, as I was walking in the office, I noticed that if there was more people than seats, then we had to broadcast it on a closed circuit television. So I said, if we're broadcasting it there, I could broadcast it on an iPhone. It just takes a little bit of willpower, and the staff was able to get it done, and we were able to roll that out with what, 48 hours worth of notice, and we had over 1,000 people sign up just to watch the March election. And ever since then, the number has continued to grow. I anticipate a large number of people taking advantage of the live stream feature come August,
Yeah.
and
Wow,
also
yeah, you're
definitely
right.
in November.
Yeah.
Hey, Brother Glenn, I gotta tell you, not just Orange County residents are watching what you're doing at the supervisory elections office, the country is watching what you're doing. And I mean, you know, they talk about the best place to hide something is in plain sight. What you did with the transparency piece, I mean, man, we've all had these. We got the iPads, but man, when you rolled that out, people were sitting back saying, damn, that's right there in front of our face. And I mean, so I gotta give you credit, man. You really stepped up to the plate on that.
Well, I appreciate it, but again, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to add extra transparency. Because here's the thing, you know the old saying, much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
When you get an opportunity to serve in a capacity like a constitutional officer, you know, you gotta take it serious. And, you know, friends who are Democrats, friends who are Republicans, friends who are MPA all said that they want to make sure that their elections are safe. And what better way than adding that extra layer of transparency? And you know, it's just an opportunity just to move the needle forward. And I'm excited about it. This week, or just what was it, 2 weeks ago? We had a meeting with the Secretary of State, and he said, "Hey, you know, I like what you're doing down there."
That's what I'm talking about.
And that, you know, that feels good. But you know what really feels good? It's going back to the staff and letting them know that the hard work is paying
It's paying off, and you can see it.
So,
Yeah.
because often the staff gets beat up. So it's not about me. It's about how to make sure that the employees who put their time and energy, the poll workers who put their time and energy and sacrifice a lot. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we have poll workers who've been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to let them know that, hey, you know, your work is being recognized. So thank you for all of this.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But listen, Brother Gozin, when we talk about Orange County, people don't realize the breadth of or the expansion of what it is that you have to do. What are the areas that you actually have to look at and to address? And what was the biggest challenge when you stepped in day one as supervisor of election, understanding how big this area was?
Yeah, so we're the 5th largest supervisor's office in the state of Florida. And by the time we get to November, we will surpass Hillsborough and be the 4th largest.
Wow.
There's over 1.2 million residents that live in the county. And right now, our registration numbers is just about 805,000 active registered voters. That number will definitely increase because both the political campaigns, the Democrats and Republicans and MPAs are going to be mobilizing the people to register them to vote before the November election.
But I think
And that number is going to cause that to go up.
Right.
But I think it's important when you mention about 800 some odd thousand in a population of about 1.6 million people.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But Glenn, let me also ask you this: you identified 2 new polling places. One in the town of Eatonville, and the other one in the heart of Westlake Wellness Center near Campbell World Stadium. How did you pick these 2?
Great question. And this also piggybacks off of Attorney Jackson's question earlier too, is that once I came in, because his question was, what were some of the challenges?
Right.
So one of the things that we did was the community demanded that they sit down and say, we need to talk to you. So I said, guys, I've been the Urban League CEO for almost 8 years.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
If you need a meeting, you don't got to demand. I'm right here, right? I'm on 119 West Cayley. Just come on down, right?
Right.
So part of their conversation they had with me was they laid out a number of concerns. And I looked at it, me and my team, we analyzed it. And again, it made sense. And the way I'm approaching this job is that if it makes sense and it's the right thing to do, we're going to do it. So the analogy I want people to walk away with is that my job is to be the ultimate umpire. All of my job is to do is just call the balls and strikes fair.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're right.
That's it. I'm not one side or the other. I mean, if I'm doing the job as it's written,
That's
and
right.
one of the things I've always said, I'm going to follow the law as written. You're an umpire, right? So anyways, back to your question. So after they brought that information, I looked at it. There was a thing that we have now coined as voting deserts, and they're predominantly in Hispanic, in African American communities. So working with organizations like Lift Orlando, and then also the town of Eatonville, and we said we're going to do something that's going to be memorialized and do something that's going to be impactful to all Orange County citizens.
Right.
So the key thing why we did the early voting sites is because it gives every Orange County citizen an opportunity to be able to strategically get to a location and be able to drop off their vote, right?
Makes sense.
And that's why Eatonville, where it's located in the county, is centrally located.
Right.
And then where right south of Camping World Stadium, centrally located. So you basically capture the two major thoroughfares that were a vacancy and make that happen.
Yeah.
And that's what we were able to do.
Yeah, because you got Maitland, Winter Park, Eatonville, and Orlando that just kind of comes together in that area. Yeah.
right
No, that was outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of like early voting and getting people and giving people the opportunity to get to the polls early and with enough time to find out who the candidates are. And this may also lend to your time with the Urban League.
Yeah.
Souls to the polls.
Yeah.
How important was that to you, or how important is that in looking at ways to get the word out about voting and early voting for those individuals in those communities?
Yeah, so the Souls to the Polls initiative, we timed it around the District 5 election. And what we wanted to do was create a foundation for the bigger picture, which is a voter education grant program.
Okay.
So what we kicked off during that Souls to the Polls weekend was really a faith-based voter education grant that if you're a nonprofit in Orange County and you have the ability to help us amplify the importance that Election Day is on August the 20th, right, for the upcoming primary, if you can help us educate the community on the changes of the state laws, then we will provide resources to you. Because here's the thing. I truly believe that it really is that old cliche saying that it takes a village, not just to raise a child, it takes a village to actually maintain a village.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
So what better way to then utilize institutes like faith-based institutions that are pillars not only in our community, but also pillars in every other community here in Orange County. And that's just the starting point. You're going to see is over time, we'll continue to roll out our new initiatives and be able to work with different partners to be able to, again, just continue to educate people on the importance of voting. This is going to be one of the most important election cycles.
You're right.
And you know what's funny? Growing up, I've always heard, this is the most important election cycle, right? And then here we go. And here we go. But it really is, especially with all the noise that's out there. And it's not just because of the races that's on the top of the ticket. It's also some of the races on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Like your state rep, your school board, your county commission. And as you know, Commissioner, that those decisions that happens locally impact you more than what happens in Washington.
Absolutely right.
So it's important that Orange County and Orange County citizens they get the resources in a timely manner, so that way they can cast their vote and make sure that their voice is heard.
Well, I got to tell you, Greg and I, we have this information exchange that takes place 24/7. And so we started getting texts. Y'all know the supervisor of election is making his rounds in the faith community on Sunday. And I was like, what? And you were busy. You were in churches around Orange County. So let me ask you this. What has been the response? Because people in Orange County are not shy. What has been the response regarding this outreach, this voter information piece that you've done? Because Souls to the Polls, people are embracing it.
Yeah, so to your point, they're embracing it. And the response is overwhelming to the point where I'm getting calls every day like, when can you come, or when can we get together, and how can I be a part about the next round of the grant program and everything like that. But I would be remiss, I saw Attorney Greg Jackson at a Father's Day event on Juneteenth, if I'm not mistaken. It was earlier that morning. And what was exciting, Commissioner, was that on that Sunday, it was Father's Day. And able to not only work with the faith-based institutions, but to see the enthusiasm of African American men being recognized, not just for Father's Day, but then also engaged through this voter education, and having them saying, hey, you know what, we're going to make sure that in our family the importance of voting and teaching that. So I just wanted to add those additional flavors to it because it's bigger than just our grant program. It's bigger than just Souls for the
Okay.
Polls. I see this as a movement where you now have a population that has been, I won't say it that way, but you now have a level of enthusiasm
Gotcha.
among African American men about importance of voting and being, as you know, it's the way that our faith is set up is that, you know, it's God and then it's men and then it's women, right? It's just that's what
Yeah.
we believe. And as the head of the household, to see that level of enthusiasm for civic engagement, that's what resonates and that's what continues to drive our community forward.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this, and I have not been shy about saying this. And Brother Love knows me. I mean, even as a Democrat, I think some of the excitement is the fact that we now see African American males in positions that we have not traditionally seen African American males. For instance, when Brother Love was commissioner, we had not seen an African American male in the second district for the county of Orange, for Orange County in that position. With State Attorney Andrew Bain, we had not seen in this area an African American male in that position, and now with our supervisor of election and Mr. Glenn Gelzine, we had not seen that. And I'm gonna tell you personally, for me, it is exciting to be able to say, hey, look who we've had in this community. And I think that for a lot of men, because men get beat up a lot. I mean, I was just with Bishop Stubbs over in the Paramore area, and it was Standing Tall, and there was a conversation about, you know, men are oftentimes forgotten. It's as if, you know, we don't exist to some extent. So when we have and we can look at individuals such as yourself, such as Brother Love, such as, you know, Brother Bain, such as other pillars in the community, it is an exciting time.
Yeah.
But it's also an exciting time, Brother Gelzine, and I kind of want you to touch on this a little bit. It's also an exciting time because we have a supervisor of election, and this is nothing from Bill Cowles. This is absolutely nothing from him. But when you have someone who has worked in a certain area for a period of time, you get and you garner some understanding of issues in that community that need to be addressed. And so, can you talk to us a little bit about your background? Because we talk about, we go to the map. So, can you talk a little bit about your background and what it is that has given you this unique outlook and this unique perspective on how to go out and engage underserved communities?
Yeah, it goes back to my time at the Urban League, but even before then, you know, I started a little nonprofit back in the day, and it was always focused on how to uplift our community through education. And as you were just sharing that, I was just thinking, how cool, like what we have here. And then let's also, you know, give flowers to Mayor Jerry Demings as well. You know, Byron Brooks.
Brother Bakari Burns, I forgot him. I forgot about
So-
Commissioner McMullen over in Oakland. So
And what we see is, there's this old saying that perception is reality, right? So if you could see it, you could be it. And the fact that how this community has embraced and has, however you got there, right? But once you're out there, I just see that the young people are now having a role model to look up to. And so that responsibility is that you have to continue to embrace that and then find ways of uplifting and bringing people up. But yeah, I you know, my background is just, I'm just a little old, you know, country bumpkin, right?
I knew that was coming, Greg. But you know what?
You can see it from a mile away.
But you know what? It took my partner sitting to my left to say to me after probably a year on WOKB radio, he said, Brother Love, it's a sad frog that won't croak over its own pond. And so what I mean when I say that is this, and I appreciate the compliments, Greg, but when we look at leaders, and I'm Mayor Demings, Byron Brooks, Supervisor of Election, Glenn Gelzine, when we look at State Attorney Bain.
Chris Anderson in Seminole County. I mean, first black elected official in Seminole County, right?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
right.
correct?
That
yes.
is right.
But let me go here, because this is more important than anything else that we're going to say here. It's the body of work that individuals do when they're there and not be placeholders or ceremonial. And so, man, we could talk tons about what Mayor Demings has done being the mayor. Byron Brooks, that leadership. But Glenn, I mean, and I can't be remiss about State Attorney Bain and the work that he's doing. But come on, Glenn, I mean, Supervisor of Election, because see, wherever you go, you're proven. You're proven. I mean, and that's just it. But you get appointed to be the supervisor of election. You dive in, and I don't know how many days before you're there that you had an election.
Yeah. What, 14 days?
Yeah. Yeah.
I started March. No, actually 15 days. I started March 4th and
Eatonville,
March
wasn't it?
19th. No,
Was it
March
the
18th.
Eatonville election that was the
No,
first
it was
one?
the presidential primary.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Talk about
Yeah.
diving in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had the runoff for the town, the city of Winter Park and Winter Garden. And then
forgot
you had
about
the
that,
city
yeah.
of Orlando, right?
mhm.
This, 5 with all those candidates.
And in
then last
between-
week, Tuesday,
Transparency.
yeah.
Yeah.
In between the initiative regarding voter outreach,
Yeah.
and the thing that I love about what you've been saying and what you've been doing is you've been transparent. You've been you invited everybody to the table, and you know we got sororities and fraternities that
yeah.
are out there doing
Yeah.
outreach. You got faith-based community, and what you've said to everybody is this: present me what you do in the community that is objective as it relates to invitation to find out more about voter registration. So that leads me to this supervisor election. One of the changes in state law deals with vote by mail. A lot of people didn't keep up with that. Can you share with our audience the importance of what you need to do with the law change?
So prior to the last general election, the state legislature changed the law where in 2022 Orange County had over 280,000 active voters who received their ballot by mail, right? Which is the vote by mail system.
Right. Right.
Then the legislature changed the rule that says that at the end of every major general election, you have to re-register to obtain your ballot by mail. So right now, I think as of last week when I looked at the numbers, we were hovering around 78,000 people. So there's a delta of almost 200,000 individuals who, if they've always received their ballot vote by mail and you just come in the mail,
Right.
if they don't re-register, they don't get it. So there's a prominent person in the community, and gave me permission to share his story. But you know, he came into the office. He participated in the District 5 race, and he came in on a Sunday, rushing in like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize that I had to fill out this form in order to get my ballot."
Right.
And he was like, me as a person who knows it, is involved, former, elected official, and the fact that he was unaware, just think about, again, everyone else. So one of the things why I'm so adamant about these grant programs and helping get the word out, not only on election day and getting people out to vote, but helping them, help the community understand that these changes in the laws and these changes in rules that impact the voter, because if they're not keeping up with it, they would just never know. So it's super important. So if you want to vote by mail in the primary, you have to complete your vote by mail registration form by July 22nd.
July 22nd.
Okay.
July 22nd.
Okay. Now the other thing too, and I thought that this was a gutsy move, and I also thought that it is very much necessary and needed, because a lot of times we're afraid to ask for money in the community. But you found it necessary to request a certain amount of funding from Orange County.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was $1 million that was requested from Orange County. What was it? What was the reason and the purpose for requesting that $1 million from Orange County?
Yes, so going back to that community-based organization conversation we had, a lot of them came up with some really good ideas and said that, you know what, we don't have the resources to get out and help educate people on the importance of voting. So it's a little different than registering the vote. It's really utilizing resources that will allow the awareness of the importance of voting. And I said, again, that's a great idea, right? So then my budget, as a constitutional officer, I'm required to submit a proposal to Orange County Board of County Commission, the mayor and the Board of County Commission, by May 1st. And I took the recommendation and plugged it in. Now, one of the things that the mayor's office and those guys did, they said that, you know what, we're going to evaluate it like everything else. but make sure that be prepared to defend that budget come July the 11th, which is the day where we'll be giving presentations to the entire Board of County Commission and the mayor. So my goal is to work with those same community groups that gave me the recommendations and make sure that we're prepared to educate the county commission on the importance of these dollars. Now, I have done some, behind the scene work, because as you know, as a current elected official, but as a former elected official back in the day, working in Tallahassee and all those, the job is to count votes.
That's right. That's right.
So I've already met with a majority of county commissioners, shared them the needs and why this is important, and a lot of them have signaled their support.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good thing, and I think but I think the key is letting this be community driven and community led, and so that way, this can be something that's always be baked into the budget going forward.
To that point, for the July the 11th presentation to the Board of County Commissioners, will community-based organizations that support your recommendation be allowed to speak before the commission?
So I know that on the 10th is when public comments are available for that. And I will tell you that one of the things I'm working diligently with is those community groups to make sure I get their voices, their proposals, getting it completed. Like tomorrow, I'm meeting with the president of the Florida League of Voters, getting his proposal, make sure that I capsulate it correctly, and make sure that every member of the Board of County Commission actually gets it in advance. And then from there, just continue the roadshow, because it's not over until it's over.
Right.
And that's not until the end of August, like early September, right?
Okay.
And that's when the final package will be done.
Yeah.
So we have some time. It's like, again, like the legislative process.
You're right.
We're in like day probably 25. So let's not get excited until sine die when you see it written. And even in that case, you got to wait till the governor don't veto it, right?
You're right.
So,
You're right.
so there's a lot of time left, and I feel confident that we'll be able to bring this over the finish line.
Information is powerful, and I don't want to just beat a dead horse, but for those community-based organizations that are interested in being supported, that are interested in having their voices be heard on, because July the 10th will be here before you know it. What should they do? I mean, do they contact your office to find out? Okay,
Yeah.
so
We have a office of community outreach in the public affairs department. Just contact us there. We're getting ready to launch a website, so that way we can actually have people just go online and submit proposals that way. And then last but not least, one of the things I'm really adamant about is getting community input into the process. So we're analyzing the law to create either, and I don't want to call it a task force because there's so many task forces.
Right.
But we're looking at how do we create where citizens can be engaged, involved in the process of the dollars that come in, verify these applications. Because it's important, it's taxpayers' money. So the more transparency we have, the more community involvement we have, I think a better product that we'll have going forward.
Greg, you know we like Bill Cowles, and congratulations on his retirement, but
He's on the beach.
But he's on the beach?
Yeah, that's what. So we did an event with him not too long ago, and it was so exciting. And he's like, "You guys can," because everyone used to call him Boring Bill, right? Because he was like, he never had any controversies. That's why he survived and sure, but also did a great job, right? So now at the end, he's like, "I want y'all to know me as BBB." I was like, "What is that?"
Well, yeah.
Said Beach Bum Bill, and I love it. So I give him shout outs.
So now wait,
He's enjoying the beaches.
has he done the David Letterman with the big long beard yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
But I bring former Supervisor of Election Bill Cowles up because Supervisor of Election Galzine, I got to tell you, you bring a great deal of excitement to the office of supervisor. A lot of people didn't even know what it was or that it exists, and you're bringing a lot of excitement to it, man. And again, you know, I got to refer to my good friend, Attorney Greg Jackson. Man, it's a sad frog that doesn't croak over his own pond, but you don't have to do it. He and I do it.
Yeah. No, we got you back on that one, sir.
Look, thank you, but again, the credit goes back. Bill did a great job, and you know what? I gave a speech today to the Florida Conference of City Clerks, and one of the things I mentioned in that speech was how when you're doing your job right, no one knows that you're there.
That's
like
true.
so as a clerk, but everybody runs to you when you have a problem or they have a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So part of it is twofold. I think, yeah, it's important. It's important to be, understand that, hey, you can do an election without a hitch and there's no drama.
Right.
Because that's what we want. But I also think, to your point, it's super important that we bring the office into a new technological age.
Right.
But then also, as we hear, concerns, how do we provide solutions to that? And just making sure that, we're doing right by the community as a large. So that's the play.
So that people can stop texting and calling you and I, can we have the supervisor of election answer this question once and for all? NPAs,
Yeah.
for this coming primary, the question that Greg and I are getting left and right is, can an NPA vote in the August primary?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ballot is bigger than just. So let me break it down. So Florida is a closed primary state. So when it comes to the races that are specific to where there is a Republican contest and a Democratic contest, and it's closed, then those votes, those voters, only who are in that registered party is eligible for it. But there are a couple of races, like the Senator Thompson and Senator Bracey race, which is a universal primary because it's not a closed primary race. So everybody in that, I think it's Senate District 15, I think everybody in that district, Republicans, Democrats, and NPAs can vote in that race, right? And then you have the other contests that's also on the ballot for August, which is like your judges and
County commissioners.
County commissioners, So if it's not a closed race, because that's a nonpartisan race. So that's open to everyone. So yes, MPAs will receive a ballot, and depending on where they live will dictate what's on the ballot for them. But everybody will have an opportunity to cast their vote this upcoming August.
So they've heard it directly from the supervisor of elections' mouth. They don't have to,
So what we've been telling y'all just disregard, but you hear from the supervisor election.
Thank you for legitimizing what we've been saying.
Hey man, I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Supervisor election, Gelzine, we appreciate you being here. This is the part of the show that I'm going to hit Greg with some rapid fire, and you don't want to be in the room for this.
Okay.
But we appreciate you coming, man. Keep up the great work that you're doing, and I'm not saying good. Great work that you're doing, man. You're making the office of supervisor election exciting.
Yeah, no doubt.
So fun fact, last week Tuesday was 170 days on the job.
Wow.
I administered 4 elections. Unheard of.
Talk about diving in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
Hey,
supervisor election, you're always welcome here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
God bless
service.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
God bless you, sir.
Thank
Hey,
you.
we're going to take a quick break, but once again, we want to thank our Orange County Supervisor of Election, Mr. Glenn Gelzine, for joining us. We'll be right back on Let's Talk Nation.
Daybreak iFix. Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Jaguars and Porsche. Joe's Quality Auto Repair. I specialize in European cars. Daybreak iFix at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair. Located at 1240 State Road 436 in Altamont Springs. Daybreak iFix. Call me, mention Let's Talk Nation and bring your certified dealership repair quote. And I beat by 30%. Remember, Daybreak iFix. Call me at Joe's European Quality Auto Repair at 407-409-6040. Again, 407-409-6040. After Daybreak iFix. Joe's European Quality Auto Repair.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk Nation. And Greg, that was a great conversation with our
Absolutely. But
supervisor.
listen, brother, you got me in trouble, man. You tell me I'm sitting up here chewing my gum. My mom done text me and asked me why I had that gum
See,
in my
your
mouth.
mom told you. She been telling you that.
I'm blaming you.
Oh, blame me. All right, I'll take it, Mom. But, Mom, this is the part of the show that you know that I'm going to hit Greg with some rapid fire. And so, Greg, if you're ready,
I'm ready.
let's go.
Let's go.
Hey, we got the first presidential debate that's set for June the 27th. Man, come on, give me something. What?
So listen, man. So on this coming Thursday, President Biden, former President Trump, they're going to be standing together for the first time. This is one of the earliest presidential debates that we've had. Some folks thinking that this is the Democrats, audition of Joe Biden to see if he can stand the heat. But then others are saying that this is also going to be the place where Donald Trump is going to reveal his running mate. Now, Donald Trump has said that he knows who his running mate is going to be, But that person still doesn't know.
Doesn't know.
But whoever it is, they're going to be in attendance at the presidential debate on Thursday. But some of the highlights, high points, people need to pay attention and listen to what these guys are saying, because one of those two individuals is going to be the next president of the United States.
I got to hit you with this real quick, Greg. From what we've heard from the talking heads, that there will be no audience in attendance.
No audience.
And also, mics are going to be cut off when the other person's responding.
It's supposed to be, yeah. And so the participants in the debate cannot cut each other off, which personally I think it's a good thing, just so long as they play it for both sides.
Okay, all right. Hey, Greg, here we go. We talk about all politics is local.
All politics is local.
So, give me what you got on the Orlando District 5 runoff. Give me the results.
So we talked about that last week, and again, I think that the news media in some form or fashion negatively affected this race, only because they put out information that I think is going to be that was unnecessary and damaging. I still disagree with that. That aside, though, the election was won by Shan Rose. She was actually sworn in today, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
The sadder part, Brother Lovin, I would have loved to have heard Supervisor of Election Gelzin's, take on this, or thoughts on this. But out of 21,000 individuals in that area, in that district, only 1,887 individuals showed up to vote in that election. That is less than 9% of the voting population that showed up for this election.
And Greg, I guess people should realize that, when you mention it, you're talking about a voting electorate of about 21,000+ people,
Yeah.
but you're talking about a population of in excess of 50,000 people.
Well, and also, and most, if not all, areas of Orlando are important, but you're talking about an area that is of utmost importance to the development of the downtown area of Orlando. So it's shocking and surprising to me, because I'm sure that there are more than 5,000 or 6,000 people in downtown Orlando alone that live in the condominiums and live in the homes and things like that. And those people didn't show up from what we can tell for this election.
Okay, and I'm gonna hit you with this, and we're gonna keep rolling. But
Yeah.
what or how do you believe that Commissioner Rose can be most effective in that district?
I think she could be most effective by reversing some of what was done during the campaign. Campaigns are funny things. People do things that that they need to do to win, and so hopefully she and Representative McCurdy can work together to help build and improve that community. The interesting thing, though, Brother Love, is that what people have to realize is that in about 2 years, there's going to be another race in that area. So, if things aren't done in a way that people feel is worthy of those citizens in that District 5 area, there may be another new District 2 commissioner for District 5.
People believe in results. Greg, Standing Tall, the event with Bishop Stubbs. I know you initially kind of hit on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But Greg, I guess my question to you, why are black males at risk?
That is the biggest question that, I think, Brother Love, we're going to have to spend some time to address that. I know that in the past we've talked about this issue. We've talked about ways to engage young black men, to be mentors to young black men. But for some reason, more and more African-American males, especially our young men, are just falling by the wayside. And so the event on this past weekend with Bishop Stubbs, a very great event. Listen, they fed you like, ooh, the food was good. But like, listen, I hate to point to the food, but the food was good.
Did his wife cook any of those
His wife
desserts?
cooked. She didn't cook any of the desserts, and I did pull her aside. But listen, she put her foot in some shrimp that she had with the grits. They had fish and grits and all. It was good. But that is a question that we continue to have to answer about how do we approach, how do we engage our young African American males to give them hope? How do we understand that the issues that we're dealing with are not just necessarily behavioral issues, but are mental health issues?
And I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
So Greg, mental health is critically important.
Yeah.
And I hate to overemphasize it, but when you think about it, we talked a little bit earlier on the sit-down about post-traumatic stress disorders in communities that see a lot of violence. So that's something, you're right, we got to circle back. And Greg, last but not least, man, track and field Olympic trials.
Listen, so everybody knows. Well, for most people, they might know. I am a huge track and field fan. My daughter used to run track. She ran for the entirety of her high school career. I thought she was going to run in college, but I have to watch the Olympic trials. So glad to report that Noah Lyles is the men's 100 meter national champion. Sha'Carri Richardson, she has refound and rebranded herself. She's the women's 100 meter champion. Also, Ating Mo, she is the women's 800 meter champion. And Kendall Ellis is the women's 400 meter champion. But Brother Love, the biggest story is that there is a 16-year-old out of Maryland by the name of Quincy Wilson, who is going to be in the men's final of the 400 meter dash.
I heard about him.
He broke the 18 under 18 world record 3 times, if not 3 times, 2 times I know for certain in these trials alone, with the fastest time for a young man.
That's not the one that broke Usain Bolt's.
Yeah, the youth one. Yeah.
Okay.
So his time to run around that track, Brother Love, was 44.59 seconds.
Let me see if I can beat my record. We got 30 seconds left. Greg, let everybody know who we're going to have in the studio next week.
Next week, we are going to have the candidate for public defender in Miss Lenore Easter. She's going to come in, talk to you, introduce herself to Let's Talk Nation so that you can make a determination on who you want to be the 9th Circuit's next public defender.
Well, I'll tell you what, hey, join Let's Talk Nation next week at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8. You can join us on the sit down from 6 to 6:45. But, Brother Jackson, you do not have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
Hey, join us next week on Let's Talk Nation. We'll see you then.